Okay.
Thank you.
So for those that don't know me, I know probably at least half the room. I'm Susan Carter. I am a longtime plant geek. I started working professionally with plants in 8th grade. I have a master's in landscape architecture, a bachelor in horticulture. I'm a certified arborist. I'm a qualified water efficient landscaper, so I can do irrigation audits too. What else can I tell you about it? Native plant enthusiast. So was with CSU for almost 10 years, and now I've been with the city 2 years. So I'm the water conservationist with the city of Grand Junction. Most of our programs are centered on our water. So the city has their own water service area, mainly downtown and on to Orchard Mesa. But I've also gotten to work with our other water providers, and we've brought a few new programs to the valley. So I mainly wanted to talk about what I had been calling turf conversion. We just got a new grant, so city wanted to change the name, so it's now Waterwise Lawn Program. Basically, you're going from high water grass to low water plants. So I wanted to talk about kind of the process pretty quickly. Bill has done some of the properties that have taken advantage of this. So I think it'll flow pretty well to go from him to me. So have many of you heard that there's some state regulations coming down the pike about lawns? So that's kind of why some of the cities and different things are looking at how do we reduce non-functional turf. So if the only time you're using your grass is to mow it, then they would consider it non-functional. It's the simplest way to put it, right? Unless I said, well, maybe that's your exercise, right? Maybe you enjoy that, so maybe it's functional for you. But they're leaving a little bit of that definition to local communities, which is good. And then, some things they're stringent on, but obviously Kentucky bluegrass is not native to here. It is typically overwatered. People just think they have to water. It would naturally go dormant in the summer for about 6 weeks if we would let it, but nobody wants brown grass in the middle of the summer. So we water, and fertilize and do all those things. So I'm challenging you, and I think this is an easy group, right? Because you all like native plants, to rethink, especially the front yard. And what does that look like? And can we use some natives or some climate adapted plants that are going to do much better? I put some dog tough turf in. It's not native to here, but it's very low water. I'm only watering like once a week, and the dogs can do their thing on there and it doesn't kill it. However, mine like to dig sometimes, so that's a little bit of an issue. It will cover it back up and then you have a hole, so that's not a good thing. But Foltz alkali is a cultivar of the salt grass, so that's one. If you have salty grass or salty soil, it works very well and actually kind of requires a little bit of salt. If there's no salt, it won't do well. Buffalo grass, native on the Front Range, blue grandma, native here. And there's lots and lots of grasses and seed companies out there from Colorado and Utah that have lots of choices. So lots of grass choices if you want to take out the bluegrass and put some other kind of grass in, whether it's a turf type or if it's more of a meadow. The benefits of Waterwise landscapes, to just name a few. Number one, of course, saving water saves you money. And so in the long run, that's a good thing. You're meeting that state non-functional ban, which actually hasn't hit residential yet. It's just commercial, industrial. And it looks like it's probably going to hit multifamily. So like big apartment complexes and things like that. It allows you, if you're doing a Waterwise landscape, to fit it to the area, to reduce heat. Protecting trees is really important. I really like to consult with people if they're taking grass out and keeping their trees so we don't kill them. We don't want to be Phoenix, right? So we want to be cooler, so that's important. We've rolled into the grant to reducing fire risk. So we'd like to see actually no plants right against the building. That's the one place that we allow you to have just rock or flagstone or pavers or something that's permeable but fireproof. Prefer not to just see a solid concrete apron, although some older homes actually have that, which is fine. We encourage you to select natives and adapted plants that do well here. In the long run, it's going to reduce maintenance. Typically, the first year or so, you might have a little more maintenance, right? You disturb the soil. But in the long run, it should be less maintenance than your lawn. It provides pollinator habitat. You can increase the tree canopy if you want to add more trees. And of course, diversifying the landscape is never a bad idea. What the city is now offering is if you take out high water grass and put in low water plants, it's $2 a square foot. And then it's $1 if you do grass to low water grass or grass to some other like ground cover type that's probably seeded, just because it's less expensive to do that. I actually come out and assess the trees, or our city arborist does if it's a street tree, just to make sure they're healthy. I can give some credit towards square footage for those trees if they're healthy. And we're finding that there are some plants, some trees, like linden, for example, that don't do well with the change. They just will tank if you take the ones out. So, and then I'll help you with like a water budget. So we actually help people figure out, how much water can they save. And you'll see a couple examples of that. And then there's other rebates through the city on irrigation. So I'm seeing a lot of people putting in smart controllers. You can get weather-based irrigation clocks now, which are really great. They can kind of help you with reducing that watering. I usually require a class or consultation on that because you can make any smart controller dumb. So we do work with people on that to make sure that they're still saving. So Xeriscape was coined by Denver Water after a drought in 1981, and it's supposed to mean low water landscaping. Instead, it got morphed into Xeroscape, which is kind of a rockscape, which is not great because it's very hot. When we see one property dry out, we see others around it dry out because the water actually moves horizontally as well as laterally. And so there's this domino effect of properties kind of drying out. You can really see it in certain sections of the city, as well as we're seeing heat island effects too from just too much rock. So anyway, we're trying to get away from Xeri and Xeroscape, and Denver Water's now coined the term Coloradoscape. Utah's going with Localscape. And I came up with Grandscape because we have Grand Junction, Grand Valley, and it used to be the Grand River. So we, at the city, the planning department is kind of hooked on to this Grandscape. And what I'm really talking about when I say that is make it local. What would naturally work here, right? It's not Minnesota or Pennsylvania or California, it's Colorado, and it's Western Colorado. It's the Great Basin. So make it here, or make it a native scape. So tree protection, just realizing where those roots are. I allow people to put drip, with drip conversion. So if you're taking out spray, especially in that tree lawn area, so that's the space between the curb and the sidewalk, we want to make sure that those trees are getting enough water. Again, when you're taking the grass out, like you want to avoid like driving a bobcat or something over the root system because that's going to compact it. A sod cutter would be okay. I think it's kind of an individual choice of like how you want to get rid of the grass. And also it should be kind of site specific. What type of tree is it? Sometimes herbicide is a good choice. Bill and I were having a conversation just about how the Bermuda grass here is just so hard to get rid of, without some kind of spraying. So this is what happens when you take out irrigation and you put all rock in. This unfortunately was I think a linden tree on the right. I'm not quite sure what species was on the left, but You can see too, the shade on the neighbor's driveway went away too. And the crew nicknamed this hot house because this house faces south. So in 2021 alone, our forester said that the rocking of properties led to the death of 1,000 trees within Grand Junction.
Wow.
That's just 1 year. I'm hoping he updates that, gives me some more data, because I've been using that a lot, but 1,000 trees is a lot. We're trying to increase our canopy, not decrease it. And with some of the issues we already have here with bugs and disease, we don't need to expedite this. It's, you know, it's already a struggle to be a tree here.
Susan, can I ask, in
Sure.
the core of the city downtown,
Yeah,
when the city helps plant trees
yep,
and you've got irrigation there,
yep.
do they subsequently keep an eye on the trees or fertilize them or monitor them?
So it is up to the landowner, so you can put a request in. So say Hal puts a request in for a tree. They come out, kind of do a consult with you. They come out, they plant 1 or 2 trees in your tree lawn or your, you know, your area along the treescape there. They are then responsible for treatment of disease and insects and for pruning. It's your responsibility to water and fertilize. So they get a lot of people mad at them because they come out and the tree's dead. Well, they haven't watered it. And so of course it dies and out it comes. So yeah, so they make them sign something saying, yes, I will water this tree when they install it. They are now starting to write letters. And I helped Rob, we did some math. And he actually went out and measured some tree canopies and some trunks. And I ran some math through my water budget and then like did some dollars. And it cost about $15 to water a tree, like a pretty decent mature, like a 15-inch caliper trunk. It costs you $15 a month on domestic water to water it for the city. So it's not that bad. I mean, if you want to make them your focus, like, of course, if you have other landscape, that number is going to go up, but for just a tree, it's $15. So he started to write letters to say, how you haven't been watering your trees,
And that's
your trees in decline, like, we don't want to lose these oaks and these sycamores and some of these other things that we've been seeing happen. So yeah.
It's important to know how expensive it is to buy a tree.
Oh, yeah.
I buy trees.
And the value.
12, 14 feet, because I don't have 20 years to wait for them to grow.
For-
And then I plant them and it's like, it's cost a lot of money.
It
So
does.
appreciate the fact that the city has that program.
Yeah.
I wish they would do it outright.
Well, and it costs a lot to take them out, and then just the value of a tree, they do big stickers at Arbor Day, and they price the trees in Lincoln Park, and you should come next spring, but it's pretty cool to say like, wow, that's a $30,000 tree. Because it's going to take that many years. I found this through UC Davis. So basically this is inline drip. So there's emitter holes in here every 12 to 18 inches. Our parks and I've decided this is kind of our favorite way to water a tree if you're taking out sprinklers and want drip in there. And so you would start, you know, if it's a really tiny tree, yeah, you could have it that tight, but I would like to see this spread out more. The 18-inch spacing is good for our clay soils. I would, you know, space those lines at least 18 inches apart, and I would definitely be probably a couple of feet from the trunk. Because I always say when it's raining in the woods, where's it the driest? Right at the trunk, right? The trunk's not meant to get that much water really after the first year, so.
Susan,
Other questions, yeah.
that kind of irrigation with the little holes,
Mm-hmm.
how does that work or does it work? Canal, dirty irrigation that goes on.
Filter. Yeah, I mean, every irrigation system, as Kenton could tell you, has its flaws, right? They all have their pluses and minuses, so yeah, definitely get a fine filter. You know, make sure you're blowing things out too in the fall. That will help you. In fact, like this has a filter on the end too. So, yeah. Susie?
How large of tubing is that?
It's like 1/2 inch and then the holes come in either 12 or 18-inch spacing. And so for like sandy soil, so if you're in the redlands, you'd want more of the 12-inch spacing. If you're in the clay soils, you'd want the 18-inch spacing. So I've had a lot of people put this in the tree lawn, just, for us to just keep the trees healthy. So, and then of course you plant other plants around it and you're watering them, the trees are gonna get water from their buddies too, so.
If you had this, would it be compatible on the same zone as drip emitters? Or would this have to be a separate zone?
Ideally, it would be a separate zone. Yeah,
But isn't it just how long you would have it on?
yeah,
So would you have to have this on longer?
yeah, this is gonna run for probably an hour.
So it'd have to have a different zone.
Yeah, like I have two beds in the back at work. I have different types of irrigation. We now have a demonstration garden at 910 Main Street. And thanks to Hannah Watts, we worked with Kenton. There's some really pretty garden in the front. The garden in the box hasn't done as well. The one downfall to this type of irrigation system is if you plant traditionally where you put, the potted soil into the ground, it doesn't work as well. The emitters work better in that situation. But I use this in a back bed because there was an existing elm and I wanted to make sure we were getting that. And it is a demo garden, so there's trials going on. So I'm trying out different types. I have like 5 different types of irrigation at the office and 2 different types of irrigation clocks, just so I can show people. But anyway, check it out. It's for trees a good thing. The fire resistance, that first 5 feet again is the most important. You could do a really deep dive if you want to be really fire resistant and get into, kind of flipping the foundation planting that we always did with everything crammed against the plant, against the building and get bigger as you get further out. You could do islands with walkways around it to be more fire resistant. But when you see fires and you're like, well, why'd that house make it? This is some of the reasons why, because they did some home hardening, it's called. So I've actually I had a 2-day class on this a couple years ago, on the fire resistance. So anyway, we wrap this into our rebate. So if you have grass going right to the building, I'll pay you $1 a square foot to put in just permeable materials. And then from there out, then we want to see more plants. Removing grass options. I really kind of like this craft paper. I've had a couple of people do this. It comes in rolls. It's just like that brown paper that we used to like wrap packages in, sort of thing. But the idea of that layer, that smothering layer, is we want it to go away. It's a temporary thing. It's just getting rid of the grass. So here, keeping it wet is kind of important to get rid of it, just because we're not acidic, we're dry. We have very low humidity. So that's, a good way to do it, especially if you have roots. So really think about what's under the ground. If you're transforming a garden, if there was tree roots all under this front yard, I wouldn't want to put plastic down. I mean, you could solarize if there's nothing there. It is a possibility to do, and use clear plastic in that situation. Sod cutters, you could use heavy equipment if there's no root systems underneath. And just, really watch the trees. So basically pick the right thing for your site. So.
Is glyphosate being taken off the market?
No.
It's hard to get now. It's hard to get now.
It is hard to get now, unfortunately, because there's a lot of other chemicals that are far worse than glyphosate. It just was kind of the target. Yeah, I personally don't like a lot of the broadleaf killers. I think they're way more dangerous. we're seeing damage from, oh, I had an arborist meeting last week. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It's one that takes out Bermuda grass. And it bleaches. So basically it blocks the chlorophyll. Well, we're now starting to see damage in trees.
Oh,
And that wasn't seen before. Dicamba, MCPP will kill trees, ground clear is horrible. There's just a lot of chemicals that, yeah. I'm really sad that they've targeted glyphosate so strongly because I think a lot of it is just lack of education, misuse, and there's other chemicals that are way worse. So anyway, Kent, you had
Has a
something.
massacre come up in those?
Imazapyr, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, when I worked at Extension, I always got herbicide damage plants in, and I have a site visit for a coworker tomorrow. I'm doing we had a United Way get like auction, and so I asked my manager, I'm like, can I auction off an hour landscape, consult? And yeah, she apparently has some herbicide damage I have to look at, but
jeez.
yeah, and it's, there's not much you can do once you have herbicide in the ground. You can remove that soil. If you know absolutely immediately, you could put down some charcoal to try to absorb it. But, if it's been a while, you just have to wait and see if the plants are going to make it or if they're going to grow through it. So,
Wow.
yeah. But Molly at CSU, we had a plant we were looking at the other day. It was the Arizona cypress that looked like it had galls all over it. It looked really funky, but we were thinking it was actually chemical damage because it was like the entire
Wow.
tree was just contorted. So they kind of think that maybe the previous homeowner put something down to get rid of weeds before they sold. So anyway, we encourage people to plant more native plants.
Yay.
So the bottom one is garden in the box. I have a garden in the box sign back there, but anyway, if you're trying to attract pollinators, you want a variety of plants. You want plants growing from spring to fall, blooming away. Most natives can be very drought tolerant. I'm of the belief even if I plant the most drought tolerant things, I still like to water once a month. Just to keep them healthy enough to keep insects and disease away. I did a hike on the monument a month or so ago, and I was just like junipers were dropping their berries, and the Mormon teas were dropping needles and branches, and the single leaf ash and the mountain mahogany was just brown, and then went around the corner where it was shady, and there was a single leaf ash a month ago that was yellow. My daughter's like, Mom, why does that have fall color? I said, because it's stressed, because of drought. So to me, I think it's an advantage for us to try to avoid bad drought in the garden. So Kenton, you recognize this one? So this is one that Kenton did, I don't know how many years ago you did the front yard. Yeah, but they just did the backyard last year as part of my program. So they did kind of the other L. And so anyway, very drought tolerant plants, right? You would say extremely, like not like zero
I
water.
haven't watered for decades.
Yeah, just very low water. Yeah, of course, you're gonna have ebbs and flows with that, flume and stuff, but really make sure, you're picking plants that are native to here. I'm pretty strict on native. How you define native is kind of up to you. If it's all of Colorado, if it's Rocky Mountain region, if it's Great Basin, whatever. I'm pretty like, it's native if it grows here naturally, is kind of my thought process on that. So sometimes you can use existing zones. If you are going to use some irrigation, like if this was one plot of irrigation, just to make it easier on yourself, then group plants together. So hydrozoning is really important, even if you're planting native, some kind of an adapted, putting plants together that would naturally grow together, that are going to do well in the same situation, is just really important. Lots of resources out there. We have a suitable plant list with the city, and I've been trying to expand that with planning. They do list if things are native or not. Rob has kind of listed his preferred trees that he likes for the area. USU, so Utah State has the Center for Water Efficiency. They think it's the oldest center like this in the US. They have a great amount of information. They're linked to a botanic gardens there. They just came out with this combinations for conservation in the last year, this book. And of course, CSU is Plant Talk, Plant Select, lots of fact sheets. Native Plant Society, doing a plug here for us. If you go to the bookstore, you can get some freebies. There's the low water natives below 7,000 feet. I actually helped with that one. But there's for the different regions in Colorado. Resource Central does a lot of education online, as well as they provide the Garden in the Box program. And of course, you know, what's working for your neighbors, what's working in the parks, lots of things to look at to find sources of plants. So this is Ted Javones. You know Ted. So Ted, this might be a good one for next year for garden tour. So Ted designed this. He did a lot of rock work in here. This is actually a little working drainage way. He's piped his drainage into it. You can see he's got some raised beds in here, but he's got some manzanita in here. So a lot of my clients in the turf replacement, or what we're calling Waterwise lawn program now, typically they have a mixture of natives and non-natives, and that's fine. But anyway, Ted has already saved, this is the first year, 33,684 gallons over last year.
Wow.
Here's another one. This one's on North 24th in Grand Junction, and Katie's already saved 18,496 gallons of water. This is one that Mr. Bill did. This is on 6th. This was on the garden tour last year. In 1 year, they have saved 26,145 gallons. And remember, plants sleep, creep, leap. So what do I mean by that? First year, they're kind of slow to grow. Second year, moderately grow. Third year, they really get big. So by third years we're in, you should see the most irrigation savings. So hopefully these will continue to increase. This was just to show you a before and after watering. Lawn watering on the left. This does include the whole like indoor use too. So I didn't back out the indoor use. I don't have a way to do that on my graphs at work, but we physically back out. We look at the 5 months of winter and we can kind of figure out how much was just irrigation versus indoor use, because we can get an average. But anyway, a pretty flat watering, which, okay, who's my master gardeners in here? Is that a good thing? No. Right? Is July and May the same? I mean, May even got more water than July did, right?
Supposed to be like 1, 2,
So-
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, so it should be like what's on the right, which is how it's getting watered down after the transformation. So just that bell curve is really important, right? Days are longer and hotter in midsummer. And so your evapotranspiration is going to be much higher than it is in spring or fall. I do see though a lot of underwatering in April. We don't typically have that snow that hydrates the soil, like even just a little bit up valley. Like I was at an irrigation class in Aspen last week. They don't have this issue. We do, right? They have snow melt, it hydrates the soil. We start out sometimes at a deficit. So it's really important to look at your plants at April and how have they come through winter and do they need water? So just the program in general, we cover 300 to 2,000 square feet on a home remodel, and we can go larger than that, which Bill just did one. He's going to talk about that. We did have more square footage than that. Businesses, so far, I haven't had a business do it. It is an extra step of going through planning. to make sure that they approve of it as well, and that it meets all code. That home ignition, we of course encourage, plants for pollinators, natives, fire resistant, keeping the trees is all encouraged. And then using very low to moderate plants. So you can't go over moderate in my program. And I have had a couple where people have turned in things. I'm like, this plant's kind of high on the water list, and might not want to include that one. I can't really count that towards this, but
Where's this
Um,
list?
the
Suitable plants list.
it is under planning. The best thing to do is email Susan and she'll send you a copy. It's not hard to find. It's one of those more than 3 clicks to get to.
Okay.
Plants must cover at least 50% of the area, and this comes from the state. And so when you take grass out and you put other plants in, they don't want to see these rockscapes. They want to see, gardens, landscapes that within 3 to 5 years are going to be at least 50% covered. So rock is okay, but let's cover it up with some plants. Let's shade it so it's not so hot. And then people do need to promise to maintain their landscapes for 5 years with me. So just something that comes with that program. Just some other programs I have. So the water efficiency rebates, that includes smart irrigation components, as well as indoor, such as toilets, washing machines, that sort of thing. I have free aerators and shower heads that save like a gallon per minute. We have a gray water program citywide. So far, we've not had anybody put that in, but the simplest would be doing laundry to landscape, where you take your washing machine, water, and you water a zone of your landscape. We're hoping to try to get a demo within the city here within a
Question.
year. Yeah,
With the gray water.
yeah,
When I moved to Grand Junction 20 years ago, we talked with the builders and all about using gray water.
right,
And they said it was illegal in Mason County.
right. Still,
has
it is
changed.
legal within city limits, so it's hooked to our sewer system. So the city passed it. The county is actually our building inspection. So far, the county has not passed it. There are some systems out there, but la 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 la. Not in my that I know of. But the state passed it a couple years ago. There's 6 different communities across the state of Colorado that have passed it. Castle Rock has been the most successful. They have 29 homes that have indoor systems. I'm really hopeful for the outdoor systems here. The indoor systems are very expensive. The outdoor, I have hopes for another source of irrigation for us. So anyway, I've been working with Denver Department of Health and Environment, and we've been putting together a lot of education on gray water, and I will have an installer class on November 14th this year. Might be a good one for Kenton to come to. Garden in the Box is a Resource Central program. It's been on the Front Range for 20 years. It is different garden designs. There's 8 different designs, one done by Ken and one done by me. You go and you choose which garden you want. It comes with the design. It comes with 15 to 29 plants, depending on which one you pick. And then you pick your water provider and you get a $25 discount. And then you pick them all up in one. And so I was very happy to bring that over here, and I got Clifton and Uwater to do it too. So we basically had the whole valley covered. I think we gave out, the city did a total of 100 total. I think it was about 200 total this summer of gardens that went out, not counting their extra, they have a vegetable garden, they have 9 packs of native plants, native flowers that you can get. And then I also help with leak detection through our leak detection program. It used to be that you had to wait a month before you knew if you had a leak. And, within a month, people could use a lot of water. We now have a 2-day notification. And then also I check them, because part of my job is to watch like the 10 top users of water in the city, and it does change. Every now and then I see a house, I'm like, why is the house in the top 10? And it's probably because there's a major leak. But through our leak detection, we estimate in the last year and a quarter, we've saved 7.6 million gallons of water. So.
Very.
So, with that, I'm gonna get out and pull Bill's up so he can get going. So, any questions while I'm stopping my share here?
Yes.
On the bell-shaped curve, you mentioned that the areas up high get plenty of water in the winter, so their lows are not as low as ours. With us in the valley,
Right.
with the upcoming winter and the expectation that we won't be getting much water, should we be increasing some water in the fall to get more groundwater to hold the plant?
Yeah, it's good to put your plants to bed with good moisture. So yeah, I always say one good soak before the irrigation goes off, and then watch and see if you need to do a monthly watering. December is the month where we probably need it the least, but pretty much every other month typically comes in with enough evaporation that a watering would be helpful, especially if evergreens are new plants. So slideshow from beginning. Anything else, or we'll kick it off to Bill here? You want to come up and then just, you're gonna nod at me or point at me when you want a slide changed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this is the one we did years ago. We actually used a sod cutter, I believe, because it was pure bluegrass and there was any Bermuda grass in it. And then, so the next pictures after we did it. Hopefully, that's, as we just did berms, and we don't like to use fabric, but out in the field where there's no plants, we use fabric because it's just, people don't want to pull weeds and do and spray. So, and then these people, they left in the winter and didn't maintain it, and a lot of plants died. But that was our fault, of course. But yeah, so it just, that was a nice bluegrass lawn. So, but it was a southern exposure too, so it was really hot. So, and it just, you know, he'd leave for the winter and not do any winter watering or anything. It was bad. Okay. Yeah, there's a house downtown on it's on Gunnison between 5th and 4th. Yeah, there's a little lawn out there, and we dug it out and replanted it. Real small place, but we did the between the sidewalk and the street too. So that's what we came up with. Yeah, this is a place on First Street, and it was all Bermuda grass. So we tried to dig it out with a skid steer. It's just, and you can't, I don't care how anti-chemical you are, she touched on that. With Bermuda grass, you have to spray. And we didn't spray. And you drive by it now, it's full of Bermuda grass. And they won't, we've asked if he wants us to come. We don't spray, we're not certified to spray, we don't like to spray. But, you know, we asked him if he wanted us to help him, and he seems fine with it, but it's just kind of heartbreaking to see this Bermuda grass take all over. Like, so that's what we did with that. Just a lot of berm. I like berms. I like to do berms. It's just, I think the plants do better when they're up on a berm. They tend to drain better and have more room to grow. And I like rocks. And we did. I think we did fabric there, but not on the berm. Yeah, and that people say, well, should we fabric the berm? No, that's crazy because it just makes it harder to weed. I mean, the plants are, you know, fabric isn't forever. Even that good black stuff we use, it's not forever. It'll grow over that, under it, through it. So, you know, I think it's easier just not to have any fabric, especially that gray stuff. Don't ever use that gray stuff because you try to dig into it. It's like the spider webby stuff from hell. It just, yeah, it's just really, really hard to deal with. Okay. This is the one we did that was on the garden tour last year. We just planted it the year before. And the one with this one, it had a lot of roots and it had these 2 silver maples in it. and an ash. So we used a machine, but we tried to be really careful. And the root system was just extensive. So we just tried to plant high, give it enough room and put plants everywhere. And because being silver maples, the minute silver maples mature, they start to die. So we did plant a couple of trees. Just because we know that they're already on decline. You know, they just won't live once they're mature. And this is like the first year. So yeah, this is the first year last year. And
And it's box elder.
yeah, we planted a
Sensation.
box elder, we planted Arizona cypress, we transplanted a Japanese maple that was getting too much sun. And just a few boulders. And it was really nice and shady, but it got sun, but it was nice and shady, but these silver maples probably got a couple years left and it's gonna be gone. That's the same one there. Is the Arizona cypress box elder, the ash that belongs to the city, which is on its way out. And you just see the silver maple, they're just dying. And we didn't use any fabric or anything. You just wanted to naturally spread. We used plants that would spread, reseed, and have it on pretty low water. So we haven't done any.
Whereabouts is this place?
That's Six and Pinion.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And we haven't done any gardens like Ken. I know he does these gardens. You don't water at all. We haven't had the guts to try that yet, but we used to water like 3 times a week through sheer ignorance. But and then the ones we cut down to 1 day a week, they look so much better. These plants just don't like to be wet. And there's some vines that kill a lot of my plants really.
Yeah, and clay soil.
Yeah, clay soil. Some people are just obsessed with water, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, and that's another view of it towards the street. There's a box elder. And just some, we had to burn it up really high because of the root system. Everything we had to, put soil on it. And because the roots were just all through here.
And then you did the one across the street. too.
Right, yeah, there's one across the street with the patio. Yeah, we did that one too. And one down the street. So we kind of dominated that block.
Mhm.
Okay, and this is the one that's on Third Court. Really nice people, great time. They had all this Bermuda grass, and some places we sprayed first and had it taken out. This one we took out as much as we could with the skid steer and then had it spot sprayed, which seems to work. It might not be quite as efficient because you kind of have to wait for the grass to reappear so you can spray it. But there's ones that we've done where we just had somebody come in and just spray it and kill all the Bermuda grass you can. And I say, Bermuda grass is just another example of nature's twisted sense of humor because you can't kill this stuff. You have to spray it. I don't care how much time you have, you'll never get rid of it.
I'll tell you too, where they didn't take the grass out, where they did treat though, the other grass looks great. This is one that's in the turf replacement program. And they did take advantage of taking spray irrigation out and put the rotors in because the rotors are more efficient. These folks really have done, I think, as much, they've done a lot to make it more efficient.
Yeah, they're great people to work with too, so. Whatever we suggested, they said, go ahead. So I like that. Yeah, so this is what it looks like. That's just this year. We just planted this year. Threw in a couple trees and firmed it up once again, but didn't put any fabric in. Did a little patio, we like these stone raised beds. She's gonna make that a veggie garden. The stone raised beds are forever. They won't deteriorate. They won't, wood, our dry climate just gets sucked dry and it just fall apart. Where stone should last as long as at least most of us. But yeah, so we just got these big boulders and did the berms and the field. She already had these spruce trees, which was great. Nice shade garden. We put bark. I like bark underneath the pine trees. I think good. And then the gravels kind of matched her house. So, and there's another view of it. Same place. And that might be it. Is that yeah, she wanted a path. We got a path, a little patio, and we did little raised beds. She's gonna put vegetables in there. Then we did little raised beds along the patio, put plants in there. And
What kind of tree is that?
that's a box elder.
Oh, nice.
I plant those a lot just because they grow, they're really hardy and they grow real fast. Great fall color, spring flowers and that impressive, but the fall color is great. And just, it's a type of.
So for the gender of the tree,
Yeah. It's sensation, right? So the
Yeah,
boy-
sensation.
It's the
Oh.
boy.
Oh, it's a,
the bugs.
I didn't
Yeah.
check.
They don't sell, them.
What's something?
They don't sell the girls.
Bugs
So,
are very invasive.
yeah,
Box elders?
Bugs
Yeah.
over bugs.
Oh, the bugs, yeah.
Bugs,
I've
they
never-
only go after female trees.
Oh, I've never noticed an increase of box elders with planted box elder. I've never noticed it. But, yeah.
There's two out on South Broadway that are really large and mature, and they're a sensation box elder. They don't get box elder bugs.
Yeah, that's what Chelsea sells. That's what I buy that off of, they're through trial and error, I guess, they found that's the best one. And they're native Colorado. Some people even said that like in, I think Uray or something where it's moisture and cold, they're actually kind of invasive, right? Have you heard that? Yeah,
Native,
yeah,
but invasive.
yeah.
yeah.
But here they wouldn't be. I've never
Vigorous.
seen them reseed or suck or anything, but
Yeah.
in certain places like the mountains, they'll be actually considered invasive.
When you go through Glenwood Canyon, the river's kind of lined with.
Yeah.
Are they clone? Is that?
Yeah, it's a
Always get the
clone.
male.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one genus that's dioecious, so you have male and female, so.
And that's just one of the raised beds we did, association with the patio. It's nice morning shade, so they can sit out there. And just, we just try to use, if not native plants, I don't know what's native, just these things that are drought tolerant, A lot of this stuff is native, at least to the Southwest. Like the Arizona cypress, it's not native to here, but it's an incredible tree. Just super drought tolerant, grows fairly quickly for evergreen. So
Is that it,
yeah,
Bill?
I think that's it. Yeah, then this grass here, yeah, it's still, they got Bermuda grass in there, but it did pretty well by having it spot sprayed. We don't spray, but and I was surprised that very little is coming up. So we just dug it out, waited a couple of weeks, whenever the grass would show its ugly face, we'd spray it. Seems to be working.
Can you talk a little bit about your design process?
It's called improvising. I never have a plan. What I do is I just bring a bunch of plants and see where they fit. That freaks out some people.
In my program.
Yeah,
there's
usually
a
at the end,
plan,
they're
so I
usually
can-
happy, but yeah, I just have a just general idea and I just try to plant stuff, time bloom, foliage, things like that, just try to make it all fit together. And I just make it up as I go along, so.
So questions for Bill?
Bill, what are your top 5 plants that you like to plant?
I love the Agasaki.
Yeah.
They're great. And they won't grow at my house. I live down by the river. It's just a little colder there. And they won't overwinter there, which is really strange. Yeah.
Same
Below
for,
the road,
fruit.
it stays a little colder down by the river. It just seems to be like, I grow them everywhere in town and the Redlands. They do fine. And they just
It's not
won't
the
overwinter.
fault, maybe near the
I think it's the cold.
It's a cold. I've had the same problem. in
Yeah,
Florida.
it's just being,
frost pockets.
yeah, just like that much lower by the river and then the road, below the road. So sometimes you're walking on the road and you walk, you just feel degrees difference because all that cold air settles in there. And so I have to grow them as an annual at my house. Because they're great. They smell good. They look good. Hummingbirds love them. They're not usually really long-lived plant, but they reseed really readily. And then as far as like plants that short-lived plant like blue flax, great plant, but it's only good for 2 or 3 years, but it's a great reseeder. I like, fruity geramanders, another one I'm using a lot now. It's this ground cover that has a silvery foliage. It stays kind of evergreen, but it blooms all summer with these fragrant purple flowers that bees love and can tolerate the sun pretty well. Sometimes in the winter, it'll get a dieback, but usually just cut out the dead and it'll.
Say the name again?
Fruity germander, yeah, and then, you know, like.
Does that also go by the name gray creeping German?
Yes, yeah, same thing. Yeah, and then, you know, evening primroses, I really like evening primrose, yellow primroses. You know, it has a real deep root system, so it's really hardy, and if you pull the seed pods off, it'll bloom all summer. And it's really, one client said one time they pulled like 120 seed pods off, or something,
Wow.
because, yeah. And if you do that, the plant wants to keep blooming till it thinks it's set enough seed pods. So you take the seed pods off, it pulls the plant and it will end up blooming for them. And there's just so many plants out there, and like roses, I planted roses. The shrub roses are really good because they're pretty drought tolerant. Actually, they seem to like the heat, and they bred them so they rebloom all summer long. They used shrub roses used to just bloom and they were done, but now they bred them to bloom a really long time. Yeah. And,
Do you have a favorite native
um,
other than the box elder?
I like mountain mahogany. I played a lot of fern bush. I guess fern bush. I've never seen one in the wild in Colorado, but I guess they're in Utah, right? Yeah, but fern bush are great. They're super hardy. The bees love them, and if you deadhead the flowers, they'll bloom all summer. And it's almost evergreen here. The leaves stay on really long. And then, yeah, and then the mountain mahogany, another super drought tolerant plant. That's native. You see that up in the mine. And like Perizinia, that's another one. I believe that's top. Yeah. And like, and penstemons, of course. Yeah. And the penstemons, they don't like to be wet. There was a really wet winter we had a couple years ago. You thought, oh, the plants are gonna love it. The penstemons hated it. They were all rotting. They just don't like to be wet. And they bred like a lot, they have, the Huskers, they're the Dakota Burgundy, beautiful red foliage, beautiful bloom. So yeah, there's lots and lots of penstemon. They tend to be kind of short-lived, like a firecracker penstemon, pretty short-lived plant, but once again, good reseeder. That's what you just try to get the ones that'll reseed. So, and then the grass is like Saskatoon grass. It's really big and tall, grows like crazy, goes really, really fast. And that's a native. And, the blonde ambition grass, everybody loves that. It's really good. And then, plant like, hibiscus, which you think wouldn't be very drought tolerant, but this one garden we've cut down to 1 day a week. It did fine, And we're trying to get it to water like every couple of weeks or something like that. Cause it just seems like the less you water, the better they do once they're established.